Okay, if you'd like to look again, next pass we have a different set of coordinates based on the onboard T-57. These are echo decimal 3 and 4 decimal 8. I say it again, echo decimal 3, 4 decimal 8. Same chart, over. Latitude plus 0.523. Longitude divided by 2, 11.710. Over. There we go. Roger, that's clear. You're not sure that's clear, but I think it's the same fellow. Can you read buzz? Loud and clear. You're really coming in beautifully, over. Okay, stay. And plus 1 host CPA. And go. Alright, set 3 wheel. I just have LOS and ALS times for you this pass with misstep. LOS 109er plus 21 plus 12. ALS coming around the corner 1100735. Over. Roger out. Okay, if you'd like to look again, next pass we have a different set of coordinates based on the onboard T-57. These are echo decimal 3 and 4 decimal 8. I say again, echo decimal 3, 4 decimal 8. Same chart, over. Roger. Latitude plus 0.523. Longitude divided by 2, 11.710. Over. Roger that. There we go. Roger, that's clear. You're not sure that's clear, but I think it's the same fellow. Can you read buzz? Loud and clear. You're really coming in.
All right. How's everybody doing tonight? It's Thursday night, code and chill. Gonna be working on some code again this week. No more terrain painting. Finally. Not that I didn't like it. It was enjoyable. It was therapeutic, but I'm ready to write some code. So let me just show you guys what I've been working on. As always, let's get started with that. So after I finished doing the terrain painting stuff, I needed a good way to make it not use a lot of memory. So I guess actually let me give a little bit of a backstory before I show it. The terrain itself is a single, like the low level of detail terrain while you're flying the lander is a single image, right? And that single image is like 5,000 pixels wide and like 3,000 pixels tall, give or take. It's pretty sizable, and it's a bitmap photo. Eventually it'll be a PNG once I start getting to polishing stuff, but for now, just for simplicity's sake, it's easy for me to keep it as a bitmap, right? Now, a 5,000 by 3,000-ish bitmap image, it roughly becomes something like 80 megabytes. It's pretty large. So when we go to render the terrain, we have to actually load the entire image in as a texture into memory. So we have a single texture that's like 80 megabytes, right? Now, it's not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. It's pretty big. And then the other big problem with it is on some GPUs, they might limit the size, or every GPU has a max texture size, right? But on lower end GPUs, they may have smaller texture sizes, meaning that my terrain texture may not fit into a single texture at all on the GPU. So basically what I've been doing is I've been working on this process of texture chunking, texture streaming, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it chunking in my game. And effectively the idea is you take this one giant image and you split it up into a bunch of smaller images, and you only load the ones that you need. And you still end up having the same amount of like disk usage in terms of like how big is the game. Well, if it's, you know, 100 images that make up 80 megabytes total, that's the same thing as having one image that's 80 megabytes total, right? So we're not saving anything in disk usage. What we're saving is RAM, or VRAM specifically. Because instead of loading this entire giant texture into memory, and I can only see this one small portion of it, I am loading just the portion that I'm looking at, and then maybe a few more portions around it. Now, effectively, these are actually separate textures, but they're representing the same thing, and when you place them correctly, they will look like one big texture, and you won't be able to tell the difference. If I do it right, I can go from a single 80 megabyte texture to a 3x3 grid of, let's say, 1.5 megabyte each textures. It brings us close to like 14 megabytes in memory instead. And then the other benefit of that is if my map grows, like let's say I have a larger map file. Right now, the map that I have in game is the smallest map of all of them. And it's about 1,000 meters wide and about 1,000 meters tall, give or take. It's the smallest one. So if I'm going to have bigger maps and they're going to be 3,000 meters, if I'm currently already at 80 megs with the current terrain texture, it's only going to get bigger for the others, right? The nice thing is with the texture streaming and the texture or chunking, whatever you want to call it, again, the nice thing with that is that we're always only going to be like grabbing the chunks that are near us. So at any given time, we're only going to have 15 megabytes of VRAM usage for the terrain. So it scales pretty nicely. So that's what we've been doing. So far what I have done, let me show this over here. I have the actual texture for the terrain chunked up. So look at all these little chunkaroonies here. Effectively what I did was I wrote a little tool, because I know I'm going to do this again. So I wrote a little tool in the same repo as the rest of the code, and basically all it does is it finds any texture files that are for the terrain, and then it will go and chunk them up into, right now I believe it's 640 by 640 pixel chunks. The reason that was chosen is because I need to make sure that whatever 3x3 grid that's being looked at in the game is enough to cover everything. So you could never see past a chunk boundary. You never see something that didn't get rendered, right? So the lander in your most zoomed out view, you can see about I think it's 200 meters in each direction. Now, if you can see 200 meters in diameter, right? So 100 meters in each direction. If we're able to see 100 meters in each direction, and I am using, let's say, 3.2 pixels per meter at that scale. So then what that means is I am effectively able to see 640, because 200 meters times 3.2 pixels per meter, that's giving me 640 pixels, right, worth of data. So one chunk by default is the entire radius or the entire diameter of how far you can see on the average case. Now, if you go high up and you use your mouse to kind of like move your camera to look as far as you can, that actually goes up to around 270 meters diameter, 280, something like that. So I want to make sure I have a little bit of leeway, right? But it's not really a problem, because if I do another 200 meters chunk on the right side, another 200 meter chunk on the left side, altogether I'm having a width of 600 meters being rendered at all times. I could probably even go a little bit lower. I could probably do like 150 meter chunks or something like that, and we can play with that. It doesn't really matter, because the tool, I can just have it regenerate the chunks. It's not a problem at all. And so, but I just picked 200 because it felt like a good safe spot. And we'll tune from there, right? We'll tune it. We'll see how it feels. If it still feels like we're loading too much, we'll make the chunks smaller and load less, you know. But at any given time, we're gonna have this 3x3 grid. So this is already chunked. I can show the chunking stuff, the code for that tool, if anybody's interested, but it's really simple. And yeah, so you'll notice there's other optimizations that can be done here too, though. Like, a lot of these chunks are just blank, like either completely filled with black or completely filled with transparency. But they're still taking up space, right? They're taking up disk space. Whoa, disk space. They're taking up disk space. And they don't really look like anything, right? The black ones we'll probably want to keep because they actually represent some pixel data. The transparent ones, though, they represent nothing. So like in the case when I have a transparent chunk, I could just like not render anything in that chunk, right? So that's a bit of a performance improvement that I can implement later. I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm just trying to get it actually loading correctly. So there's that. I'm gonna go back to the code real quick. Right now, what I've done is I just have the central chunk loading and nothing else. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. And I just wanted the central chunk so that I could test, you know? And then once I know that the middle chunk is loading, the other chunks are pretty easy to implement as well. Okay. I'm gonna give myself immortality. Do not go gentle. And I'll fly straight down. And you'll see some weirdness, again, because it's only loading what would be the central chunk. So if we're off to the left of the chunk, we might not see anything. Or if we're too high, you see right there. Okay, so we're inside this chunk right now. And this is camera based. It's not based off of the player's position. Because maybe I want to be able to pan the camera to the right like that, right? So I should, if the camera crosses the boundary enough that I should start seeing another chunk, well, I got to make sure that that's taken into account, right? So like here, right? I think somewhere around maybe here, use the camera to go to the right, maybe not far enough. Just trying to demonstrate this, but like the camera is roughly set like looking at the lander, but if I bring the camera over to the right, you see like just using the camera I'm able to switch what the central chunk is. Now what I need to do is render the other chunks, right? Because it needs to be a 3x3 grid of chunks, and right now this is just picking, okay, this is going to be the middle chunk, and then we're gonna have all the other chunks surrounding it. So in this case this would be that middle chunk. And we're not rendering any of the other chunks, so nothing's happening here, and that's why we see the grayness, right? Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go and I have this, is that here? It's here. I have this render chunked mask function. I have a map renderer class that I've set up, and its job is going to be to do all of the rendering for the map. It doesn't actually do the rendering work. It's more of just it does the work to schedule the rendering, the logic for when certain things should get rendered. So basically all it does is when the map render function gets called, I render the skybox, which is all like the stars and all that stuff. I call the render terrain function, which honestly for like right now is basically just for debug. Eventually I'll probably remove it. And that basically renders that gray outline of the terrain that you see when there's no artwork on it. And then I have a list of masks that I go through and I render each one. And the reason I'm doing this way is because I might have multiple mask layers. They're not all going to be the same size, and they're not all going to use as much memory. I suspect that the terrain, like the main terrain mask, is going to be the largest and most intensive, but I set this up in such a way where I can have other masks if I want to. And maybe mask is not the right term here. It's really just, it's asset chunking, asset streaming, whatever, it doesn't matter. But like, for example, if I want to have a background, right? Because right now all you have is the terrain and then the stars and then nothing in the distance. But eventually I'm going to want to have something in the background, right? And as you parallax, you're not going to be seeing everything that's in the background. Like maybe if I have something super, super far in the distance and that just takes up the entire size of the background and that part doesn't move, but then I'll have parallax layers in front of it where you're not going to be seeing the entire thing either at the same time, you know? So those would be other masks that also need to get chunked in the same way. And they might need to have some different logic for them depending, because when you parallax stuff, those things may not need to be the same size in terms of raw file size, because it's further away, and so by default you're not going to be showing it all. It doesn't really matter, it's semantics. But so I render each chunked mask, and basically, so all I'm doing right now is I'm figuring out, based off of the camera position, which mask file is the one that's going to be the central one. So the entire terrain mask, like if you think of it as one big thing instead of thinking of it as chunks, there's an origin point, right? Like where, like let's say the bottom left of my sprite for the entire terrain mask, let's say that's its origin point, right? It needs to start somewhere. I need to take into consideration the origin point of that mask, because I could have, in the editor, I could have placed it, you know, skewed more to the right. I could have placed it more to the left, just depending on how I wanted to align things, right? So I need to take into consideration the origin point of the entire terrain mask, and then I need to also take into consideration the position of the camera and use those two things to figure out which of the chunks is the one that should be getting loaded. So there's just a little bit of math there, but it's nothing too crazy. Now, as you saw, it's already rendering the central row, right? And that was the hardest part, because after we know what the central row is, we can just say, like, the rows around it, it's just like -1 to get the one on the left, +1 to get the one on the right on the columns. And then same thing with the rows, -1, +1 to get the one above it. And then the corners are -1, -1, +1, -1, +1. You get the point. And then we just loop through and go and render each of those individually. What's up? How you doing, Alex? Hey, Pirate. How you doing, man? I'm doing good. I can't complain. I can't complain. How's your week been? So yeah, we're rendering just the center one right now. We also don't have any real checking in place to make sure that nothing breaks, in terms of, like, I could try to render a chunk that doesn't actually exist in my logic now. I just haven't actually gotten to the checking of it, you know. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Once we've calculated the central chunk, or like the central row and column, from there, all of this, actually all of this is the same. So what I mean by that is, we could have a for loop, right? actually, what I think I want to do, I know I'm going to always have 9 chunks total. So what I think I want to do is I want to make an array for how I'm going to effectively traverse around the grid to get to all of the points. So because I could do like a multi-layer for loop to get to the like up, down, left, right, and then the corners. But it's a very predetermined thing. So what I mean is I think I want a array of arrays, like a 2-dimensional array. So I'm imagining something like this. Like I have an array with an array inside of it. And it's going to have the offsets for each of the chunks. So I know I'm going to have 3 by 3. So let's say I do 1, 2, 3, and those would be, that would be like the first row. 1. I'm gonna format it like this just so it's easier to see it. And I'll fill this out in a second here. Okay. Now, the center point, right? The center chunk, I'm offsetting by 0. I don't want to add or subtract in either direction. The central column or the central chunk is whatever I calculated to begin with, right? But the others are not the same. So the chunk that's to the right of the center one is going to be in the same row, but +1 in the column. So 0, 1, right? This will probably make a little more sense in a bit if it doesn't already. And then the one that's to the left is same row -1, right? And then the one above it is -1 row, same column, right? I'll catch up on chat here in a second. Just trying to make sure I don't lose my train of thought. So -1, so the top left corner, like up and to the left, is -1, -1, right? Because we're losing 1 column backwards and 1 row upwards. And then here it's -1 on the row, but +1 on the column. And then over here it's +1 on the row, -1 on the column, +1 on the row, 0 on the column, and +1 on the row, +1 on the column. There. So then I'll call this something like, it's going to be int array 9 2 of offsets, something like that. This is pseudocode, I guess, because I need to look up exactly how to initialize an array in C++. I haven't done it in a while. Corbin says, man, I really need to hang out with a human. I started implementing AI avatars in my game, and I'm suffering from acute AI psychosis. What is life? Anyway, hello, Alex. Dobry večer. Hey, man, how's it going? Well, I'm a human. Let's hang out. Yeah, AI psychosis, man. It's like cyberpunk. Like, it's like cyber psychosis, and if you've ever seen the show or like played the game, it's a real thing. How are you doing, Corbin? Aside from your acute AI psychosis, how are you doing? Okay. Brackets turn allowed out here to declare an array. Place the brackets after the name. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's my problem. I think what I need to do then is chop that from here and put it here. There you go. So now these are my offsets. Honestly, these are never changing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call these mask chunk offsets, and I'm going to throw this as a constant in the map renderer. Like that. Whoa. And then I'll be able to iterate on those. I was just trying to keep it all together. Going on a vacation after work tomorrow. Gen Con Indianapolis next week. That's awesome, dude. Well, sounds fun. So you're going to Indianapolis next week, yeah? Or are you going to be back from vacation by the time Gen Con happens? Curious. Yeah. Vacation all week and the Monday after. That's awesome, dude. Sounds like a very well-needed rest. My wife and I are also going on vacation, but it's going to be at the end of August, basically. We're going to go to Maine for a few days, and then we're going to go to Puerto Rico. Literally, like, we're going to come home for 2 days, and then immediately go to Puerto Rico for, like, a week. Carpool trip with 3 friends. That's awesome, man. Those are the best. I love road trips. I used to take a lot of road trips. Back when I did my rocketry stuff more heavily, we would literally go, we would build some rockets, and take a trip out, like, 5-hour, 8-hour drive up to like Niagara or wherever. Geneseo, New York, there's some rocketry clubs out there. We would literally go and drive out there and just like rent an Airbnb for a night and shoot rockets. My wife and I think we brought my brother once. It's a really good experience. If you're at all interested, I super recommend it. But that's awesome. Where are you guys hitting along the way? Any plans, or are you gonna just kind of try to keep it open? Okay, so once we've calculated the center row, I can literally go and say, I can make a for loop, right? And I'm gonna loop through the mask chunk offsets. Yeah. I mean, honestly, can I don't remember if I can like auto loop through an array like this. Let's see. Mask chunk offsets. I think I can, right? Awesome. So the offset itself is an array as well, and it's gonna just have 2 items in it. I could have made an array of points. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. An array of vectors. It works either way. Going straight there, not all of us have time to take off, but I'm gonna make many short stops for EV charging. Okay. That's cool. Gen Con, I mean, I'm not familiar with it. It sounds like an AI conference. Is that the case? And then I can take this and grab, whoops, I can take that. Jeez. I can take it and I can grab it and throw it in there. I need this as well. Okay. And then what I can do is I need to check if the row column combination is valid. Like, do I actually have a texture for that before I try to render it? Oh, Gen Con is a gaming convention. Okay. Why is it called Gen Con? All gaming, computer, laptop, tabletop, LARP. Huh. Why is it called Gen Con? I'm sure there's a good name for it, but like for me, I literally was like, oh, Gen AI, you know? Is it too early to have Gen AI conferences? Are we not there in the timeline yet? Okay, so what we do, we take center row plus offset is going to give us our current row, right? That'll be an int. Offset 0. That's, yeah. And then current, whoops, call is going to be whatever the center call is plus offset 1, right? And then I need to check, like, is my row within bounds and is my column within bounds? So I have inside of my inside of the same folder that contains all the chunks for the mask, I also have a meta file with some metadata that gets generated during the chunking process to aid during the rendering process. So I can actually show what that looks like. I'll cat out the contents of it down here. So it's in my build stream, descent horizon, contents, resources, assets. It's a really long path. Terrain, no, textures, terrain, and then act 0 and meta JSON. It's a really long path. But yeah, you can see here there's 7 rows and 10 columns, right? But they're 0 indexed. So my like maximum, like if I ever hit row 7, I'm out of bounds, you know? So what I can do is if current row is greater than or equal to the number of rows in the mask, or if I think I want to do, I'll replace what I had there with current call, but there's another check there. So it's either greater than, or it can't be less than 0, right? So, or if current row is less than 0, or if the current column is greater than the number of columns in the mask, or if current column is less than 0. In all those cases, we don't actually have a chunk to render. We'll skip it. Now, eventually, like I said, we're going to want to clean up some of the empty chunks, but I'll ignore that for now. And we'll just focus on actually getting everything to render. So I think honestly, I think I can just replace this with current call and current row. I think. Let's see. I'll run a build real quick. In theory, because now I have set up all the offsets, I'm looping through the offsets, and I'm rendering them out. There's other stuff that needs to happen here for cleanup, because basically the issue is I never, right now at least in this implementation, I never destroy any of the existing textures. So if I load a chunk and then I move really far away, I never unload it from memory. So I don't actually save any memory right now. And all the work that I've done to do the chunking kind of ends up being pointless, right? So I need to make sure I do that after as well. Yusuf says, hello, sir. How you doing, man? Welcome to the stream, Yusuf. Have you been here before, or is it your first time? Okay, I'm going to give myself God mode so that I don't die. And hopefully, as we approach the terrain, we'll actually see... We should not see any gray. We should all see... Jesus Christ, I can't talk. We should see all of the terrain getting rendered as far as we can move the camera. Do you stream on Twitch too? I am streaming on Twitch as well, yeah. Oh, look, that's not correct. So the chunking here is being weird. We'll take a look at that in a second. Yeah, I stream on Twitch as well. You'll probably have to search for my name on there. Let me see. Actually, I think if you type !Twitch into the chat, I'm pretty sure it should throw you a link. Well, yeah, welcome. It's great to have you, man. Let me know if you have any questions or what we're working on, all that good stuff. Okay, look at this. So, oh, I know what's going on. It's because I am always rendering the same chunk. In the code, I updated the positions, but I never updated the actual chunk texture path. So it's still using center row. Yeah, there you go. That's the link. So I should be able to just replace this with current row and current call and rebuild that one more time. And that should, in theory, that should work. We'll see. Okay, so let's run that. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, and we'll start falling once again. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, thanks for the follow, Yusuf. I got an email for it. I don't know why it didn't pop up in the chat log there, but I appreciate that, man. How you doing? Oh, look, okay. So the chunking's working. I don't know if you can see it on the stream very well, but there's like some pixel, like sub-pixel jittering there. As we move, you can literally see the connection point between the pixels. That has to do with the zooming, how the zoom works. I need to find a good solution for that because it's really fucking annoying. I'm doing good, sir. What about you? I'm doing good. I can't complain. I had a pretty decent day today. I saw The Odyssey yesterday. That movie was great. Instant like top 5. I really liked it. But it's like everything Christopher Nolan touches is amazing. Okay. So yeah, I mean chunking seems to work. At least in terms of like rendering it. Now what I want to do, yeah, see there you can see the chunk boundaries. It's a little annoying. Right here is multiple chunks connecting, same thing. Yeah, it's just the zoom. Like the zoom changing makes it unstable. And I think also like the camera position. So like right now I'm at a zoom level where like it works fine. But then as soon as I start zooming in because the lander gets closer, you see? I think I'm gonna have to like effectively clamp my zooming to certain steps or something like that. I don't know. By the way, can you tell me what you're doing now? So I'm working on this game called Descent Horizon. I've been working on it a little over a year now. It's a game where you basically are an astronaut that was in a space station circling the surface of the moon, or yeah, circling the moon, orbiting the moon, and a catastrophe happens, the space station explodes, you happen to be in the lander that's attached to the space station at that time, and you get sent hurtling towards the surface of the moon. And it's a survival exploration game. It's narrative driven, so like everything you're doing is trying to figure out what happened, right? Right now, specifically, what I'm working on is some terrain chunking. So the idea is I have this, let me see if I can actually pull it up in Aciprite so that I can show you. Let me see. Give me a second. Give me one quick second here. I think I have to pull up Steam to open up Aciprite so that I can then show what's happening. So just bear with me here. But basically the idea is I have a very large terrain that I've painted, right? And I can go into the reasons for why I did it that way if you're interested, but the idea is I've painted a large terrain file, but it takes up a lot of space, right? Like memory usage because it's so large. It's like 80 megabytes in size. But not all of them are, not the whole thing is visible. You only see a small portion of it, just depending on where you are, right? So a lot of that memory is being wasted. Like it's being loaded into the game as a texture, but you don't see it. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to optimize and make it so that only the chunks, only the parts of the terrain that you can actually see are being loaded into memory. So here, I'll show, I think, I need Aciprite to capture. Give me just a second. There we go. And then, there we go. All right. Okay, so, like you can see here, right? This is the entire terrain painted for the whole map. And then this is the level of zoom at which you're usually actually flying in the terrain, right? There's two different, like, level of details. Like you can climb out the lander and then explore on foot as an astronaut, but yeah, for the flying point of view, it uses this terrain texture, right? Now, like I said, this file is huge. It's like 80 megs, right? And we don't want to load all of it into VRAM. So I just chunk it up, and I can show that as well. Give me just another quick second over here. So I wrote some code, a tool that basically takes the input, like that whole terrain file, and then it chunks it up into little individual bite-sized pieces. So like this is one cave, right? And that got chunked into 640 pixel blocks, right? And then all I need to do, if the player is in this area, all I have to do is render this chunk and then like these chunks around it, and not all of this other stuff. So the rest of the stuff doesn't need to be in memory. So you save a lot of memory usage that way. So yeah. Which engine are you using now? So I'm using, it's a custom engine that is built specifically for the game. It's not open source yet, but eventually when I finish the game, I'm going to also open source the engine for anybody who's interested in that kind of thing. But the engine is built in C++, and it's on top of SDL for the window management, and then for the actual like graphic rendering, I use OpenGL. Only use visual frame chunk is generated, rest of the chunks is not generated, I guess. Am I saying correct? Yeah, so the chunks are all generated, so like when I compile the game, all the terrain gets chunked up into a bunch of files. So the chunks exist on disk, but when you're actually playing the game, it only loads the chunks that are around you, so that it's not wasting memory. It's your own engine, damn nicer. Thanks, man. It's well, me picking to do my own engine is the reason this is taking so long. I probably would have been a lot further along in the game if I hadn't decided to roll my own engine. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's a good process. But yeah, in the game, the other I guess one of the other big features is you also have access to this terminal. And it's basically like an actual, it's an emulated terminal, but it's basically the exact same thing as like your actual terminal in your computer. And so this terminal allows you to control stuff on the lander. So like, for example, the lander has a LiDAR scanner on it, so that when you're high up, you can like scan the terrain. Because like, for example, if I'm all the way up here, right, let me go up pretty high, I can't see what's below me, right? But what I can do is I can do scan auto D, type out that command, and then it starts scanning, right? So now I can see, okay, there's some ground there, and I can start planning where I'm gonna land. You know what I mean? And then there's some other nice things that it'll highlight some resources and stuff that you can go and pick up and stuff like that. But that's the idea. And I can exit the scanner. There's other commands, like if you type help, I can, for example, you can take damage to different parts of the lander. So like, for example, the legs, right? You can deploy or store your landing gear, but if you land hard, your legs, the landing legs individually can take damage. So if you want to see, okay, what's the status of my legs, you run an op check, and it'll show you like, okay, the left landing leg integrity is 100% right now. Because even though I had a poor landing, I gave myself invincibility right now for testing. So I literally can't take damage. But yeah. I love the pixel UI. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been fun putting this all together. Right now I'm working on like Act 0, which is basically like the part of the game where it's kind of the tutorial, but it's still doing some story exposition eventually. But I'm still working a lot on like individual mechanics, and as you can see, like optimizations for random things. But yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out what I do with these lines, because that's really annoying. You can literally see the chunk jumping left and right. But whatever, that's not super important right now. So now I have the chunks rendering correctly in the correct spots. All I need to do is make sure that the old chunks that are no longer being rendered get thrown out. So I'm thinking I almost need some sort of cache, right? A cache that can only hold 9 items, because I'm only gonna have 9 chunks loaded at a time. Yeah. So what I think I can do is I can have a set, an unordered set. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here. I can have an unordered set that stores all of the chunk coordinates that were rendered on the previous frame. And then we calculate which chunk coordinates are being rendered on this frame, and any chunk coordinates that were there on the previous frame but are not there on this frame get thrown out, evicted from the set, and then we basically fill the set with the chunk coordinates that are already there, that we are rendering. So something like this, like let's say we would basically be collecting the coordinates as we render them. So I'm thinking in here, how do I want to do this? I want to do an unordered set, and it's going to be an unordered set of, does my vector class support sets? Let's try it. A set of, no, it's going to be a set of points actually. Because if you think of the grid as a set of points where like the rows and the columns are the X and Y positions, we can represent it that way. So, yeah. So I almost feel like what I need is two sets. One set for the ones that I'm currently actively rendering, and then one set for everything that was there on the previous. I think that's what I want. I think that's what I want. Okay. Rendered chunks this frame. So this is just going to keep a list of all the chunks that got rendered this frame. Today you're focusing on optimizing this game. Yeah, basically. The chunk masking stuff I was focusing on a little bit earlier today, and now I'm just kind of working to improve how that works. Because right now the chunk masking works in terms of like it's actually rendering the chunks. But the old chunks that aren't being used are still stuck in memory, so nothing's actually clearing them out. So it's kind of like a memory leak in that way. Like it's just going to continue keeping all those chunks there that aren't being rendered, so we end up not saving anything in terms of memory in that case. So I need to make sure I go and actually clear out any chunks that are not actively being rendered from the VRAM. You know, I can delete the textures basically. So I have rendered chunks this frame, and I think on the map renderer I can have in here maybe another unordered set. Of points, and that's going to be all of the other ones, the ones that were previously rendered. So singularity point, how do I want to call this? I feel like I want to this name should represent that like these are not chunks that are being rendered right now, but these are chunks that there exists a texture in VRAM for. So maybe loaded chunks. Yeah. I think that's probably good. Oh, my cat Totoro. She doesn't really have a concept of personal space. She'll just walk right in front of your face. Okay. So I think actually, do I want to keep this in rendered chunk? Do I want to keep that on the class? So, or like as a instance variable, because like rendered chunked mask shouldn't worry about cleaning up the other chunks. I want to make sure that it is just worried about actually rendering the chunks. So I'm thinking what I can do is rendered chunks this frame. I'll put it in here for now. I can move it later. Yeah, all right. And then basically what I'll do is if I was in here and I rendered a chunk, I'll add it to the set. So rendered chunks this frame dot, I think it's insert, right? Insert, that's going to be a point, and it's going to be current call, yeah, column followed by row for the chunk. What doesn't it like? It doesn't like, oh, damn it. So point, all right, I was hoping I could reuse point for this, but point stores its data as a double. And I don't want like, these are integers. So I think what I'll do is I'll make this an unordered set of vectors. Or no, actually an unordered set of pairs, honestly. Make pair. And then boom. And then here, this needs to be, I mean, these both need to be pairs of ints. Pairs of ints. Do you work at a company or do you have your own game development startup? So I have a day job. I work as a software engineer for a web-based company, but I work on games or game in my free time. This is just kind of like a hobby for me. I mean, I'm gonna end up putting this game on Steam. That's the plan. But yeah, I wouldn't call this a startup. It's kind of just me, you know, trying to build something. How about yourself? What's your experience level like? Just for chill. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I insert into rendered chunks this frame during the loop. What I can do is rendered chunks this frame clear in the beginning, so that I have a fresh set, and then loaded chunks. I need to get like an intersection between the loaded chunks and the rendered chunks this frame. But what I want to do is I want to have a function here that clears unused chunks. Clear unused chunks. Yeah. Okay. And then I'll go down here and I'll make that function. So it's returning void map renderer. Oh, Jesus. Clear unused chunks. I think my LSP is being weird. I'm not getting auto completion anymore. It's pretty annoying. I could probably try to do like a LSP restart or something in a second here. But okay, so we have clear unused chunks. And what that's going to do is it's going to take a look at, well, actually, where do we do this? I think what we're going to do is clear unused chunks is going to run after the render. Like that. I think. And so that way, after we finish rendering on each frame, we'll see which chunks we actually are rendering and which chunks we need to keep in VRAM, and then otherwise we can throw out any of the others. I might want to put like some sort of like expiration as well. Maybe that's better. Maybe that's what I want to do. So that I can basically just check, okay, when was the last time this chunk was used, and then clear it out that way. Because like if we ever have a case where we're like on the border of two chunks and I clear one out and then I get a new one and then I go back and forth, I can be doing a lot of like what's the word? I can be having a lot of loading and unloading, like a bunch of creation of textures and deletion of them, and I don't think that that's super great. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll have a chunk cache. Now, it's going to be time-based. I think what I can do is... I've done this similarly before in my typography manager, because my typography manager has some caching in it. Let me see how I implemented that. Font cache. Okay, so cache TTL if it's less than or equal to 0. Text cache. Okay. Okay, so I have specifically a text cache and text cache entries. Let me see. Where is... I have text cache key. Do I have a... Is that how I did it? Did I make a text cache? I have cache key and cache entry. Is it literally just... Am I doing a unordered map? Typography manager, HPP, text cache. Yeah, it's literally, I have an unordered map with the cache key, cache entry, and then a hasher. Yeah, I think I can do that. Because, especially for the chunking, like, the chunk, I'm gonna have, let's say, even if I have 100 keys in my cache, that's nothing. I don't have to worry about evicting the keys. I just need to worry about making sure that the... Yeah. I'm curious, though. Where do I actually clear my text cache? In my typography manager. Because I know I definitely place stuff in there. But... Where do I clear them out? Cache TTL. That's get texture. Okay. Prune cache. Okay, I have a prune cache function. I basically would need to do the same thing where I go through all the stuff, probably like once per second or something. Prune cache. Let me see. Where's this being called? Yeah. So I prune the typography cache once per... Okay, I think I can do something similar to that. So, basically, what I think I want is I want in my... Jesus. In my map renderer, I want to have a chunk cache, right? And that's going to be an unordered map. And it's going to have... As the key, it's just going to use a pair of integers. That's just going to be the row and column of the chunk, right? And then it'll have, I think it's a, do I want to do a double? I'm pretty sure the double is the TTL. Yeah. Chunk cache. Something like that. And then basically whenever I'll call this prune chunk cache. Whenever I render a chunked mask section, I will make sure to update the TTL of the chunk cache entry. So chunk cache, insert. Yeah, okay, so here's what I'll do. Chunk cache, I want the pair, right? And I always want to insert. Core, get. I think I want to do... I have two different delta time, or different lap times. I think I want to do runtime, elapsed time. Because this is not simulation state. Okay. I don't need these anymore. The chunk cache takes care of both cases. Yeah. but this is just the elapsed time. I want to do a TTL of the current time plus, I don't know, let's say 5 seconds. I think 5 seconds is reasonable. Like if you've been out of a chunk for 5 seconds, we can unload it. I just graduated, but I honestly have almost no skills yet. I know a little bit of basic coding, but I'm not very good at it. The funny thing is, I absolutely love playing games and I want to build a career in game development. The problem is that I have no idea how the industry works. I'm confused about the different roles, what each one does, and which path would best fit for me. Right now, I'm thinking about becoming a gameplay programmer because that role seems the most interesting to me. I want to focus on learning that, but I feel completely lost. I don't know where to start, what I should learn first, or where to find good courses. If you have any advice or can point me in the right direction, I'd really appreciate it. That's a tough one. So, my advice that I can give you is pretty limited because I don't work in the gaming sub-industry, right? Like we're all programmers, we all write code, but I don't specifically work at a gaming company. So in terms of like the different roles and what they do, I can't really point you in the right direction there. I think you would kind of have to do some research on the different types of roles. And pick what sounds most interesting to you. That being said, though, I think it also depends on the size of the company. Meaning, like, not every company is going to have the same role breakdowns, you know? It's like if you join a smaller company, they might need more general programmers than programmers that are specifically focused on gameplay, or programmers that are specifically focused on, let's say, shaders, you know, because there's like what's it called, there's gameplay programmers, then there's like the game, what's the word, like they program the art, like any kind of procedural art generation, like that kind of thing, you know. In terms of just like, the thing I could probably give you the most advice on is like learning and getting comfortable. And the biggest thing that I would say for that is just write a lot of code. Spend a lot of time writing code, like more time than you think you need to spend writing code. Because I totally get where you are with the graduating, but not really feeling like you're good at it. There's a misconception I've seen with some people where they think that like they can go to college, and then by the time they come out of college they're gonna have all the skills they need to be employable. I'm not saying that that's necessarily the misconception that you had, it's just a misconception that people do have, and that's not the case. There's so much to learn in terms of programming, and the only way to really get good enough is to just write a lot of code. And you're going to write a lot of bad code at first, but that's okay, because you need to know what bad code looks like before you can start writing good code, you know? But if I were you, I would just start like writing a bunch of games. If you're interested in games, just make games, you know? Since I already have some basic programming knowledge in C and Java, how long do you think it would take me to learn C++? Not long, honestly. But don't learn C++ unless you want to learn C++. Like the only, what I would do if I was in your situation and I graduated college and I want to work in the gaming industry specifically, I would decide what kind of games interest me. Am I interested in 2D games or in 3D games primarily? It can be both, right? But like, what do I want to work on more immediately, right? Now, if you want to do 2D, like, you have a few options. All right, like, I think you pick what you're interested in, and then from that you decide what you're going to learn. So if you want to do high resolution, like really, you know, like AAA games, and that's your big goal, and you want to make it into a AAA studio where they're working on, like, again, high resolution, performance intensive, like crazy games, then yeah, C++, learn C++ and learn Unreal Engine, and that's probably your best path. If you want to work in specifically 2D games and you're interested in that kind of thing, you want to join an indie studio, or you want to, you know, go more down that path, you have two good options. I think if you strictly care about 2D, Godot is a great choice, because Godot specializes in 2D programming, right? It's in 2D games. So everything that's in Godot is built with that frame of reference, right? And that's really useful. So if you know you want to work on 2D games, I would say go with Godot, and they have their own language called GDScript, right? Now the middle ground is I want to work on 2D games and I want to work on 3D games. I don't really have a strong preference, but I want to and I want to be well-rounded. I think a good choice is Unity, because Unity, you can do 2D and 3D. It's not, Unity is not 2D native. Like in Unity, you're faking the 2D. It's actually technically 3D, but that's not super important. And in Unity, you would be using C#, you know, because I've heard that many game companies as well as game engines like Unreal use C++. That's one of the reasons I want to learn it. It's a great language. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like it. It has, you know, it has its quirks. It has its own issues, but it is a good language. And people use it for a reason. But it really just depends on the kind of games you want to make. Like, for example, for my game, I'm working in C++, right? The reason I chose C++ wasn't because I said I want to go and like make a game in C++, right? The reason I chose C++ is because I originally wanted to just build an engine. Like this whole game started off as just me wanting to build an engine, and I wanted it to be performant enough, and I wanted to have good like low-level control. So I was like, okay, I'll use C++ and I'll build the engine. And then eventually I was like, oh, this is really fun, and I want to make a game and all that. And then the engine's in C++, so boom, I'm writing the game in C++. If I wasn't writing my own engine, I wouldn't be here writing C++ right now for this game. For my 2D side-scroller effectively game where I'm flying a ship with like custom physics, but I didn't have to do it that way, I probably would have just used Godot, you know, or Unity. But Godot, it would have been, for this specific game, would have been like the engine that I would have gone with. So it really just depends on what you want to build. But I think if you want the best, like if you don't know exactly what you want and you want the best like interoperability, like Unity is a good starting point. If you've never done anything in games at all, I would maybe start with Godot, just because 2D in general is simpler than 3D. There's less to worry about. Is it hard for beginner coding learners? Is what hard for beginners? I think you might have said that while I was in the middle of my monologue, so I'm not sure exactly what you're asking there. Are you asking if C++ is hard for beginners? I mean, if you know like C and Java, well, you said basic programming knowledge. C++ is basically C, but with classes, and like a few other nice things in place. So if you know C, like transitioning to C++ won't be super hard. It might be a little bit different in how you structure your code and all that stuff, but I don't think it'll be super hard. And since you said you're comfortable with Java, C# is literally like Microsoft flavored Java. So that's like really easy to transition to as well. So you can pick either approach. I know in general for the gaming industry, I think Unity is probably the single most used engine. Again, outside of the AAA studios where they're like working on Call of Duty or something like that, it's probably the single most used engine. So if I was trying to get started and I didn't have a specific preference in mind, I would just honestly, you can pick anything, because once you like, it's like learning how to code, right? Like if you know one language, the syntax, like the concepts are what you're learning, and then you transfer the syntax to other languages. So if you want to go to, let's say, I don't know, Ruby, well, you can say, okay, how do I write an if statement in Ruby? How do I write a for loop in Ruby? You know, I already know the concepts. I just need to know how to write it in that specific language. So in terms of engines, it's very similar. Like once you learn like game programming in general, you understand the concepts of what you're trying to do. And now it's just, okay, how do I do that thing in this engine? It's not exactly that simple. It's not literally like, oh, I'm just doing the exact same thing and every engine is the same. But there are a lot of similarities. Like game loops exist in every single engine, right? You have a loop that's running everything and it's going in an order, right? The way you structure your code is going to be similar in most engines. You know, the concept of how 2D rendering works, it's the same, right? 3D rendering, okay, you're using models, that's all the same thing, you know. But I think if you don't know where to start, I would just download Unity and play with that. Maybe like one thing that I think is a good beginner thing to do is like try to build tic-tac-toe in your terminal, right? If you can build tic-tac-toe, if you can write the code for tic-tac-toe to work in your terminal, then I think at that point you're in a place where you can probably go and start digging into writing other more graphically intensive games, right? You can what I would do is after I build tic-tac-toe in my terminal, I would go into Unity and try to take my exact code, translate it into Unity, and make a UI for tic-tac-toe in Unity. And then now you'll be learning about Unity's event loop, you'll be learning about how to structure your code in C#, you'll be learning all those things. But it won't be like this whole big, like you're not going to be making a game and learning the engine at the same time, because you already have the concept of like, okay, I know how tic-tac-toe works. I've already written the code for how the data model is for the game. Now I just have to hook in a UI to it. You know what I mean? And maybe I have to make some sprites and maybe I have to render them. Maybe I have to detect clicks and all that. Like then you're just learning the engine parts, you know? And by the end of it, you'll have a tic-tac-toe game that you can play in Unity and you built it in the engine. And then, wow, now you can go and take your learnings and make your next game that's maybe a little bit bigger, you know. But the one thing I would avoid is just watching tutorials, because you're gonna get stuck watching tutorials over and over and over again. Just for me, and I feel like probably for most people, the best way to learn is learn just enough that you can get yourself started. So watch enough of a tutorial where you can kind of get the gist of it, and then just do everything by yourself and struggle through it. Like the struggling is the important part, because like if think about when you go to the gym, right? When you go to the gym, if you stop when your muscles start feeling hot and when they start aching and when you feel like you're starting to get sore, that's the worst time to stop, because that's the time where you're actually activating all your muscle, right? The same thing with your brain. Your brain's a muscle. So when you are struggling through something, that is analogous to you feeling that soreness in your muscle, right? So the struggling is the learning. It needs to happen. If you don't do that part, you're not going to learn. So if you know, don't get yourself stuck in the loop of just watching tutorials over and over again, is what I would say. Okay. Back to the whole terrain chunk caching. So I have the chunk cache set up. It's going to be storing the double with the TTL, and all I need to do, I already added the TTL plus 5 seconds whenever I render a specific chunk. And then what I think I need to do here is when I prune the chunk cache, I need to go through all of the entries inside of the chunk cache. So entry in chunk cache, and then actually I think I want this to be an iterator because I'm going to be erasing. So auto it is going to be chunk cache dot front first. How do I get the iterator to the begin? That's what it is. While it is less than chunk cache dot end, I will increase the iterator. Thanks for sharing your opinion. I really appreciate your advice. Of course, man. Anytime. I am glad to help. Let me know if you have any other questions or any other specific advice or anything like that. I like to blabber. Okay. Prune. Why is this prune chunk cache complaining that it's out of line? Void game map renderer prune chunk cache. Okay. Void prune chunk cache, and that's inside of the map renderer. Did I not save? that what it is? I think that's probably what it was. Yeah, I didn't save. Okay, cool. Auto. What don't you like about this? Chunk cache begin. It's gonna give me an iterator. While iterator is less than chunk cache dot end. What doesn't it like? No. Am I tripping here? What's chunk cache dot end is going to give me an iterator. Yeah. Oh, not equals. Jesus. Look at that. I'm an idiot. Okay. Now, so I'm going through all the entries in the chunk cache. Let me see. So the it will give me the entry. And then I think first is going to be the... Actually, all I care about is the TTL. So double TTL. This is going to be the expiration time. I guess I'll rename that expiration time. What are you complaining about now? Oh, is it because... Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so I have the expiration time. That's the iterator second. So if expiration time is less than... Actually, let me just get the time one time. So sync... what is it? Cur time? Time now. Double... Oops. Double... Singularity... Or actually, do I even... It doesn't matter. Let me see. Because... Get runtime elapsed time. It's just returning. I don't know. There's a few function calls. I'm trying to optimize. I'm like prematurely optimizing here. I don't think it'll matter, honestly. Singularity core get runtime elapsed time. So that's going to be the current runtime time, not simulation time. If it is, if the expiration time is before that, we can just go ahead and continue. There's nothing to do for this chunk. That means it's still valid in the cache. Otherwise, if it's past, let's do less than or equal. Now, if it's past its expiration time, or if it's, yeah, if we're past the expiration time for this chunk, I think we just need to go and clear it out from the cache. So what I'll do first, I need to basically make a string. This is actually a little bit tricky. Actually, it's not. It's not. Well, here's what I'll do. Instead of storing a pair of ints, I'll actually store the string, because I forgot that there might be multiple mask layers that are and they're different files. So if I just store the coordinates, I don't know, okay, is this a chunk from like the main terrain layer, or is this a chunk from another mask? There's no way of knowing. So I'll just store the actual file name. Yeah. And then in here, when I do this chunk cache thing, I'll just store that after I calculate the file name. So chunk texture path. Yeah. Boom. And then in here, that means that I'll actually have the file name in my entry. It'll be iterator first. So then all I need to do is Singularity, texture manager, destroy texture, and then I'll pass in the name of that texture. And then once I do that, I want to erase this entry from the chunk cache. Let me see, how did I do that in my typography? manager. Prune cache. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Since I'm gonna be erasing, that's actually, I can't have my iterator be like, I can't be increasing my iterator. I just need to I start the iterator off before the loop, and then I'll have a while loop. So it'll be the chunk cache begin, and then here this will be a while. Oops. While iterator is not equal to the chunk cache end. And then I just need to, if this specific chunk is not expired yet, I will increment the iterator, and then I will just continue. Yeah, okay. Otherwise, I get there, I'll remove the texture, and then I will update the iterator to be chunk cache dot erase it. Yep, that's it. Okay. And then let me just make sure I'm actually calling prune chunk cache here. Cool. I think that should work. I'm gonna have to like monitor my memory usage and make sure that I guess I don't even have to do that. Let me think. I can keep track of how many things I pruned just to make sure it's working correctly. Where is it? Prune chunk cache in here. So it's just for debug purposes. 0, and then anytime I erase, I'll increment count pruned. And then here I'll just, for now, see out how many I've pruned. And if it works, most of the time it'll be 0, but I should have some logs in between where it's pruning a few at a time. What? Your background, is it your spaceship picture? Yeah, my background, it's the inside of the lunar lander on like the Apollo lunar lander, basically. I just thought it'd be a little fun thing to have. Robert on a whim. Hey Robert, how you doing, man? I just thought about something. When you land on these places, what if you could have a really cringe Star Trek style experiences like simple combat and gimmicky storyline? I want an entire planet of babes. That's funny, man. The entire, like, maybe like as an Easter egg somewhere, like you land somewhere and it's just like a bunch of babes. That'd be pretty funny. Interior design. Yeah. I don't think I'm not planning on doing any actual interior for the lander. That would be a lot of work. Okay. So immediately, just as I'm looking at my code, I'm seeing something that I'm not liking. Ooh, there's some weirdness going on. You guys see that? Okay. I have some issue. So as you can see in the console, I'm having prune chunks a lot. That's not good. Something's being weird. I'm erasing stuff that I shouldn't be erasing, I think, is my problem. Let me see what destroy texture's doing. GL delete textures. It finds the texture from the texture atlas. Okay. I'm wondering if I'm calling it and the texture's not already in the texture atlas, it's not finding an ID, and then it's erasing something else, like with a random pointer address or something like that. Because this seems correct to me. Like, it's just, I'm pruning a lot of chunks though. This is way more than I should be. Is my my runtime, thought it was in seconds, but is it not? Let me see. I'll output my elapsed time as well. Because that's weird. Get runtime elapsed time. I'm wondering if, like, I basically am giving it like a 5 millisecond TTL. I don't think that's the case. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. But it's worth checking. Because that, maybe I might need a 5,000 there. We'll see. Instead of a 5, you know, 5,000 milliseconds. Okay. Game's in. No, yeah, it's, the +5 seems like it's fine, because I'm seeing, like, elapsed time is in a second format, exactly how I thought. So that's good. Now, what I'm... Oh, I know why. No, do I? I don't know why. I was thinking, like, here, I thought I was only adding the 5 and not the current, like, runtime elapsed time. So, okay, why am I pruning 6 chunks every single time? If expiration time is less than or equal to the current time, I mean, I don't need expiration time in here either, because, like, I'm just setting a variable just to use it once. So let me remove that. But what is second in this case? Yeah, that is the double. That is the time. Continue. Okay, if we don't continue. So, like, in theory, at least like when the thing starts, I should immediately skip all of them, but that's obviously not what's happening. Chunk cache begin. While it's not chunk cache.end, if the time is the expiration time, the TTL of the chunk cache entry is less than the current time, increment. Okay, I mean, I guess let me output what these entries times are. Maybe it's not what I'm expecting it to be, you know? Try rebuild there. Let's see. Continue. Okay. So, I mean, just immediately looking at this, like, that wasn't even on for 18 seconds. It was maybe like 13 seconds at that time. So why are we not Oh, wait. Jesus. Oh, I got my logic back. I'm an idiot. I have my logic backwards. So, we want to skip... don't code when you're tired. We want to skip if it's not expired. Duh. Because if the expiration time is in the past, or like if the expiration time is in the future, it hasn't expired yet. Yikes. No. Yes? Jesus. What? I'm legitimately, I'm confusing myself. Okay. The expiration time is going to be set to now plus 5 seconds. If the expiration time is later than right now, I need to... Yeah. Okay. I need to skip. Okay. There we go. Okay, now I'm seeing no prune chunks for the majority of the time. I need to give myself enough time that I can actually gain some chunks that I leave that are like not there anymore after 5 seconds, so we'll see. I'm just basically trying to fly and let the thing accumulate some time. Okay. Now I should... I'm gonna search in my terminal, and I want to see some pruned chunks. Pruned chunks. Let's say 1. Do I have no entries for pruned chunks 1? Okay. Let me see. Chunks 2? No. Chunks 3. There we go. Okay. So I pruned 3 chunks at a time. I guess when I got low enough, that makes sense. I should never be pruning just 1 chunk at a time, I guess. Unless I'm moving diagonally. If you don't mind me asking, why are you building your own game engine instead of using a free engine like Unity or Godot? I'm just curious about your reasoning. So this game, the game originally wasn't the plan. I wanted to build a game engine specifically just for the enjoyment. I like writing code, you know, and I thought it was going to be a nice challenge to build a game engine. So I started off just planning to build a game engine. And then as I was building the game engine, I was like, well, I need some kind of game to build in the engine so that I have something to test, you know what I mean? To make sure that the engine's working. And so originally I was like, oh, there's this lunar like lander arcade game that I thought was really cool. So I wanted to go and just create a clone of that game. And so that's what I did. I built the engine enough and I built a clone of the original Lunar Lander arcade game from Atari. And then I was like, I'm having a lot of fun with this. So I want to turn this game into my own game, you know? So I thought of a bunch of new features and like thought of a story for the game and basically transformed it into my own thing, you know? So now here I am with a custom engine and I'm working on the game. That's kind of how we got here. Nice. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like the chunk pruning actually worked there because we pruned those 3 chunks when we didn't need them anymore. So that's good. I think that was basically it. Now what I want to do actually is I want to take a look at my activity monitor and see how my memory usage looks for the game. I'll switch over to my other view here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So this is my memory usage. I don't have the game running just yet though. I'll start the game here in a second. You guys you won't see that because the game runs on a... Oh, actually, I guess you will. I have the game on here in this view. Why no, that doesn't make sense. Oh, I get it. I get what's going on. let me see. I need to find a good way of doing this. So I have to do this on my other screen, I think. Let me change this. My screen source. Properties, capture this display instead. Okay, alright. That looks terrible. Let me resize that. Bear with me here. This screen is like a 4K screen, so it looks very different. Very bad. You guys can't even see anything on here. I have 3 screens, but this is gonna look way too tiny. And my other screen, I have my stream stuff on it. Let me see. Can I increase the size of this? I guess not. I can't increase the size of the text either. That's annoying. Okay, well, bear with me. Bear with me here while I do this. I'm running the game on the other screen, and the game runs in full screen right now, so you can't really see you can't see both the activity monitor and the game on the same screen. So bear with me. So I've got the game running. Let's see, what's my memory usage like for the game in here? Actually, one sec, let me make it so I don't die. So I should not be seeing ridiculous memory usage. Like, let's see, Descent Horizon. Okay, 800 megs. What? I wonder what I'm. Oh, I know why. Actually, I do wonder why that's using 800 megs. I'll have to profile some of the memory stuff, because 800 megs is more than I expect to be using. But I'm also rendering a lot of text textures, which they could be adding to that. I wish there was a good way of like seeing specifically what's using, like what's bringing up the memory usage. Real memory size. Yeah. Okay. I think I'll have to profile that separately and see what's going on there, because not really getting anything. I can't tell from that if my if I'm using a lot of memory usage for the, or like what my memory churn is for the chunking stuff. So when you open source your engine, will it be able to run on Windows as well, or will it only support Linux? So it's gonna run on everything. It has to run on everything because the game is gonna be on Windows, and technically the game's it should work on Linux because I'm making it work on Mac, because I'm developing on a Mac right now. So if I want to release the game on Steam, like almost everybody on Steam uses Windows, so I kind of by definition have to make the engine support Windows as well. That being said, I haven't tested it on Windows yet at all. I'm sure I'm gonna have to spend some time cleaning it up and like making it cross-platform compatible, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. Okay, so I'm relatively confident that the chunk masking is, in fact, like the mask chunking is working. So I think I'm good here. I'll have to, like I said, I'll have to profile it separately, but just looking at the pruning, I know for a fact that the destroy texture stuff works. So just looking at the fact that I had the pruning output, that makes me confident. it would have been nice to have like a good before and after to see how much memory we're saving. But based off of my math from before, like my back of the napkin math, it should have gone from roughly 80 megabytes worth of RAM usage for the terrain mask to like 15 megs, give or take, something like that. Okay, cool. So the nice thing is we are effectively done with the terrain chunking. There's still work that I have to do to remove the lines in between the chunks, but that's actually more of like a general problem that I have to solve for the entire engine. That's not specific to the chunking stuff. And I need to give that some more thought about how I want to solve it. So I'm gonna call the mask chunking stuff done for now. So I do have a ticket here that I had created. It's this low LOD terrain chunk masking, terrain mask chunking. I'm just rereading the ticket real quick just to make sure I covered all of it so I didn't miss anything. So I have the asset chunking tool. It's exporting at 3.2 pixels per unit, and we're doing 200 by 200 meter chunks. What I could do is I could, oh, that's the other thing I need to do. I need to go and actually test and make sure that when I look around, I cannot physically ever see, a chunk that's not rendered. Let me go do that real quick. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to play around with the sizing of the chunks. Because right now they're 200 by 200. Oops, I accidentally killed the game. I wonder if I can get them to be smaller. Because if I can get them to be smaller, we have less memory usage. I feel like 150 meters should be good. So we'll see. I think a good place to go is there's like a cave area. And in the cave area, I will be surrounded on pretty much all sides. So in theory, that'll be a good area to test to make sure that all the chunks are loading. Okay. Let's go in here. And then I'll go kind of deeper in there. Okay, somewhere, maybe over here. That'd be a good spot to stop and check. Okay, so I'm trying to look around. In here at least, in this area, I physically cannot look anywhere and not see terrain being rendered. So that's good. Let me actually try to start from over here to see further. Yeah, I think that's good. Now the other thing I'll do is I'm actually going to try to leave the cave. Because if I'm further away from the ground, it zooms out a little bit more. And let's flip over here. When I'm zoomed out further, that means I can see further away. So I want to make sure that when I'm higher up, I still don't get any weirdness. Because actually, I guess this is like best case scenario. When you're in a cave like this, you have one of the lowest zoom levels possible. Dude, I can't fly today, huh? This is like some of the worst flying I've ever done. Let me remove the legs. I think that's making it super annoying to turn. There you go. Okay, now once I'm out here, yeah, you see like the zoom level changes immediately. I want to be able to zoom way out like this and make sure that I'm not missing any chunks. So at 200-meter chunk sizes, this seems to work fine. Like, I'm seeing all the chunks. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and update my terrain chunker. Because right now, it's chunking to 640 by 640. Let me see, where am I actually calling my terrain chunker? Let me see. Terrain chunker, chunk all. There we go. That's in my, yeah, okay. My main. All right, so let's say I do 150, right? 150 meters diameter at 3.2 pixels per unit. That's 480 pixels. So let's try that. 480 by 480. And then I basically have to rebuild the tool since I changed how the sizing is. I should probably change that so it can just take in the chunk size as a parameter. But I feel like once I settle on a chunk size, I'm probably not going to be changing it after that. Scripts, build, stream tools. Okay. So that's going to rebuild the chunking tool. All right. Chunking tool is rebuilt, and now I can go and actually do the chunking. So I have a little command here already in place called SB assets. Basically, that'll go and it'll run the terrain chunker automatically, among other things. But yeah, it'll run the terrain chunker automatically. And it did generate a bunch of other chunks. Let me share my other screen. This one. Here. Look at all those new chunks in there. So before it was like a handful. Now it's significantly more. I think I had like 70 before, and now I have, let me see, how many items are in this folder? I don't even have a good way of checking, actually. Get info. Does it tell me how many items are on here? 119, yeah. So it's got 119 chunks in there. I had like 70 before. The chunks are randomly generated or is pre-made. So basically what it's doing is it's gonna go to, so I have this, oh, aspect ratio looks terrible in here. One sec, I gotta resize this. Here, actually, there. It goes, so the terrain is pre-painted, right? So it goes and it takes a look at the terrain, and it basically what it does is it tries to make like boxes. Like here, I'll show you. It's literally gonna go and it's gonna like chop it up. You can't even really see that. One sec. Let me increase my. It basically goes and it tries to chop up the terrain into like boxes. And these are going to be the chunks, right? Now I can change the size of the chunks. If I want to have a smaller chunk size, I just specify a smaller chunk size, and then it'll go and make smaller chunks, you know? It's just how big, it's just talking about like how big do I want my chunks to be, you know? That's all. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. So I'm gonna exit Sprite. Looks like our build finished, and I'm gonna go and run that again, and I want to test and see how that looks and make sure that we're not missing any chunks, and that we can't see past the chunk boundary. Basically, is what I want to make sure. I'm gonna give myself invincibility just like before. And then I want to get relatively close to the terrain, but still high enough up that I have a lot of zoom. So I should never see... Oh, look at that. Okay, so 150 is not good enough because look, like on the edge there, you can see the chunk boundary when I'm very zoomed out. See that? Okay. So that was a good test. So we need something between 200 meters and 150 meters. So the next logical thing is 175 meters. So let's give that a try. So 175 meters at 3.2 pixels per meter is 560 pixels. So let's try doing 560 by 560. I'm just trying to find a good like chunk size basically. And then again, I'm gonna rebuild the chunking tool. And we'll try re-chunking the terrain again. It might end up being that the 640 by 640 was the best chunk size. I just want to, you know, I want to check and be sure, you know, instead of assuming that I can't go smaller, because the smaller that I can go, the better I can use memory. Meaning like, because like this one mask is not going to be the only mask that's being used. You know, I might have like 3 or 4 layers of masks, right? So if I have multiple layers, that adds up, because I'm doing like, let's say at one layer, if I have 15 megabytes for one layer of masking, even when it's chunked, then at 4 layers, I'm at 60 megabytes already. You know what I mean? Versus if I can cut that down even a little bit more, maybe instead of being at 60 megabytes, maybe I'll be at 50, you know? And that 50 megabytes of memory usage gives me a little bit more space for other textures, you know? I just feel like it's nice to be respectful of hardware, because the less, what's it called? The less resources I can use, the better it is for the end user, you know? Just gotta wait for this build to finish. Bear with me here. It takes a while, especially when assets are being transferred over. Corbin, how's it going, man? You working on anything tonight, or just chilling? Okay. Looks like that finished. All right. I have a deployment at work in 10 minutes. That sounds fun. They always got you working late, man. You gotta put your foot down and say no. No more. Okay, so this also isn't that good. The one, I'm actually surprised it's that bad. 175. It's like very visible. I'm almost like that almost felt like the same, to be honest. Was it like literally was 200 like the perfect amount? Because look at that. You can see it. Maybe, yeah, I guess 200 was it. Because that's like another like 15 meters right there. I think 200 was literally like the perfect amount. I think I have to do 200. Keep it chunked at 640. I think that's what it is what it is, right? I need to go and make sure, honestly, that at 640 that wasn't happening. Because like, well, imagine like it would be my luck that I would go at 640, and then I just didn't notice it, and I need to increase my chunk size. I mean, it is what it is. I could also just limit my zoom, to be honest. I guess I have to see how much I care. If it's not really a problem, then it is what it is, right? Actually, I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna clear out the folder with the chunk stuff in it. Okay. So yeah, all right. We're back to 600. Oh, why did I do that? It's not what I meant to do. Let's run. Okay. I have to look very close to the edge and make sure that I don't see any chunk boundaries. Let's see. So far, nothing. So far, no chunk boundaries, but I also think I want to get further from the edge. So I think that's what I was doing before. I was like kind of going over here. This is like the most zoom that I'll ever have. I think with the 200-meter chunks, it looks good. Like I'm not seeing any pop in, basically. So I think this is what I gotta keep it at 200. I mean, it's fine. It works, right? No problem. I was just trying to be a little more efficient. Now the other, what I could also do is I could make my chunk heights smaller than my chunk widths. Like the widths is, you can see further left and right than you can see up and down, you know? So if I want to save a little bit, I could probably do it that way. Maybe I do that. I think maybe that is what I need to do, especially because like as you get closer, the zoom increases. So like I have a certain like guaranteed level of view, if that makes sense. So I think like right as I hit 100 meters, that's when I start to increase my zoom. So honestly, I'll try making my my height for my terrain chunking smaller. I'm gonna go to 480. That's what I had when it was 150 meters. I'm sure you've answered this a dozen or more times, so I apologize. What's the benefit of developing your own engine versus using a pre-existing one? Well, first of all, welcome to the chat. It's good to see you, man. So honestly, most people shouldn't develop their own engine, and I probably shouldn't develop my own engine. Like there are so many drawbacks to developing your own engine that it's like honestly really not worth it if you want to make a game. Unless your game is like pushing the very boundaries of like of what's, you know, standard in video games, like you don't need to build your own engine. I wanted to build my own engine. For like this project, this game started off as an engine project. Like I wanted to specifically build an engine first, and then I came up with a game to build so that I would have something to test. And then eventually I really enjoyed what I was working on, and I figured, okay, like let me just build the game out. And at that point I incidentally already had my own engine, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just continue it, you know. But it has made the development of the game extremely slow. Like I'm like over a year in now, like a year and like 2 months into my development for this game, and like I could have, if I used the pre-existing engine, I probably could have gotten most of what I have done in this game done in like 4 months. So maybe not 4, maybe like 5 or 6 months, but still, like it's very slow. But there are benefits to building your own engine. Number one is like you build it however you want it. You do whatever the fuck you want, and that's really nice. The other benefit is you can optimize specific use cases. So like if you know that like you're like I can choose to optimize, like, let's say my fonts in a specific way, or I can choose to write my render pipeline in a specific way because I know that I'm going to be using it in a certain way. You know what I mean? So you tailor the code and the way that the engine works more towards your specific game. The other thing is you learn a lot writing your own engine. That's why I did it. I really wanted to learn a bunch of stuff and challenge myself. But I think it's really just about like tuning. It's also more lightweight, right? Like I don't have all of the baggage that comes with Godot or Unity or whatever, because like I literally am only putting what I need into the engine. So like if I don't have a use case for a specific feature of Godot or a specific feature of Unity, it's literally not in my code. Meaning like everybody's file size downloads are smaller. Like the people who are actually playing my game, they're gonna have to download way less stuff. And yeah, that's kind of it. Makes sense. If the end goal isn't an MVP or delivering a game as fast as possible, then yeah, why the hell not? Sounds like a blast, honestly. Yeah, exactly. Now at this point, I do want to make a game. So it was getting in my way for a while. Like I said, it slowed me down. But it's been really fun. And now I've gotten to the point where the engine, for the most part, is relatively stable. And I get to just actually work on the game. There's still things that I add to the engine and still, like, you know, bugs or things that need to get fixed. But for the most part, like the core aspect of everything, it's there, you know? So now at this point, I really am just, okay, I'm focusing on making the game. It's just the big challenge is like anytime you want to build something, like you're like, okay, oh, I want to add some particles to my game. Well, it's like, guess what? You got to build a particle system first, you know? All that stuff. Like for this game, I was like, okay, I wanna have control over the camera. Well, guess what? You gotta build a camera first. You know, I want to have physics. You gotta build the physics first. But it's really fun. It's extremely fulfilling, is how I would describe it. And yeah, by the end of this, I am planning on open sourcing the engine. So I'll have just, you know, something that people can take a look at and play around with and dissect, you know, use if they want to. I doubt anybody wants to use it, but it'll exist. It's super lightweight. It's built on top of SDL and OpenGL. So like, if you wanted to make a 2D game, it's probably as lightweight as you could go. But like I said, there'd be a lot of custom stuff that you might have to write. Okay, so I'm trying to see if I'm seeing any chunk boundaries, like part of a chunk that's being not rendered, or like, sorry, I'm chunking my terrain because it's all like one big file right now, and I don't want to have it all in memory. I need to make sure, I just changed my chunk sizes, and I want to make sure that I am not seeing outside of my chunk boundaries, because it's like a 3x3 grid of chunks that's being rendered. So I know left and right works totally fine, but up and down is what I'm worried about seeing below. And the lines and flickering, that's part of, you know, part of some weird stuff that I have to do to deal with zoom. So you can see, like, it's literally, you can see flickering there as the chunks kind of move in and out of each other. It's annoying. That's just to do with like the zoom level of the game. You can see the zooms going in and out smoothly, but it's a pixel art game, so I have to decide how I want to deal with that, because you can't really have smooth zoom and crisp pixel art at the same time. Unfortunately, like, you get some pixel stretching, you get some weird artifacts like that, and I just need to figure out how I want to deal with it. I haven't bothered yet, but yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, thanks. I you know, I'll throw it up on my GitHub, and people can just check it out whenever they feel like it. I mean, whoever joins the Discord community, you know, I post updates in there, so that's probably the best place to find out if you care about stuff like that when it goes live. Goku and Perleus. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you guys for the follows. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support. But yeah, I think making my chunk height 480 seems totally fine. Like, I'm not seeing any point in which I can see past the chunk boundaries so far. Subject to more testing, obviously, but it seems good. The good test is like when I'm super zoomed out like this, I can go to like one of the edges of the map and be super zoomed out, and then try to see if one of the tops of the chunk boundaries is not visible. But because the screen is like wider than it is tall, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Let me go up a little higher. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to see the chunk boundary. I think that's good. Wrap it up. Awesome. So that's good news, because before I was having 640 by 640. Now I got 640 by 480 for my chunk sizes. Means I just have that much less in memory. Let me see how much that is. I want to try to do the rough math here. Per lu. Okay. Yeah, I can't read. I'm sorry, dude. Hopefully you can forgive me for that. But per lu. Well, thanks for the follow, dude. Okay, so let me see for RGB 8 per pixel. Let me see, bytes per pixel. Okay, 4 bytes per pixel. Okay, so if I'm at 4 bytes per pixel and I've got 640 by 480, I have 307,000 pixels at 4 bytes. Okay, that's that many bytes. And now I want to do, that's bytes directly, then 1024 to get kilobytes, and then divided by 1024 to get megabytes. So each chunk is about 1.17 megs. 1.17 megs per chunk, and we're gonna have we always want to have 9 chunks loaded because we have that 3x3 grid. So 9 chunks, we're at roughly 11 megs per mask. That's not bad. 11 megs. And then before I was having about 1.45, something like that. So I was closer to 13. There's no way that can't be right. It was 640 by 640. And then times 4. I don't know why I just didn't do it right away. But and then that divided by 1024 divided by 1024. Okay, yeah, it was 1.56 megs, meaning if that times 9, I was at 14. Yeah, so I was at 14 megs per terrain mask chunking layer, or terrain mask chunking set. So I just shaved off basically, I was at 3. Is that Jesus, 10? Is that what we got to? 10.5 versus 14. So we just shaved off 3.5 megs of memory usage per layer, and we're gonna have multiple layers, you know. So just from changing the size of the chunks, right? Easy win. Okay. That being said, though, I think this ticket's good to go. To be honest, I don't think there's really anything else to do on it. like I said, the chunking lines that we were seeing, that's a bigger problem that I have to figure out how I want to deal with. Let me actually change this. This is not 640 by 640. Let me change the, go back to the code. It's not 640 by 640. Instead, it is 640 by 480. 480 pixels. And then that was representing 200 by 150 meters at a time. Okay. Okay. Let me just check my diff real quick before I commit. We got the chunking in the way. We got, sorry, implemented. We have the chunk caching as well, so that we prune old chunks out the VRAM. Yeah, okay. That looks good. Okay. And then this is resolving issue number, resolves number 121, implement terrain mask. Chunking, okay. Oh, whoops, I forgot to add. Get add, and then get commit, and we can push. There we go. Okay. Now that that's done, there was something that I changed about my skybox to accommodate for this. Where was that skybox? Because before my skybox, the color changed. So like as you went higher up, it would get darker because you were like leaving the atmosphere. It's not totally realistic for the moon because there's no atmosphere, but it was a good way to indicate to the player how high up they were. And that was based off of the lander's altitude. And I changed how that works because I didn't want to pass in a reference to the lander inside the skybox because the skybox was being moved over into the terrain, the map renderer in here, because now the map renderer owns the skybox. And I didn't want to have the map renderer taking a reference to the lander. So I'm wondering, I do still want to have that effect where like as you go up higher, it gets darker, and as you go lower, it lightens up the skybox a little bit. But I don't think it should be based off of lander altitude. I think it should be based off of the player position height from the world origin. So because what I was seeing was like as your altitude was changing, because the altitude is detected based off of like it's a raycast, so the altitude is your altitude above ground, not altitude above sea level, right? So what was happening is like as you flew over cliffs, like if you were high up and then you flew over a cliff, your altitude would jump, right, to be lower, and then that would instantly change the skybox color, and it was weird. So I don't want to do it based off of that anymore. But I do need to pass in the player position. Or actually just the camera position, honestly. Yeah, okay. So literally, I think I just need to do camera height. Maybe if like plus 100 meters or something like that, plus 50 meters to account for the fact that not every, what's it called? Not every, Jesus, why can't I think? Because not every map, like not every part of the terrain is at 0, you know? Okay, so I need to get the camera in here. So instead of passing in 0, I'm gonna do, I think I actually want to split this into 3 lines for cleanliness. So it'll be something divided by max darkness altitude. And then max darkness altitude, it's not gonna be altitude anymore. It'll be, I guess it kind of is altitude, I don't know. Singularity, render pipe, not renderable, render pipeline, get camera, get position, the Y position of the camera. Okay, now where's max darkness altitude coming from? So at 800 meters above, let's say sea level, because sea level, let's say, is 0 meters in this game. At 800 meters above sea level is when we reach the darkest. Let's see if that works. The clamp doesn't like this because these are floats. And then this is, I think, going to give me a double because that Y is a double. Let me just kind of cast that to a float. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to build that. We'll give it another try. And now I should actually see the skybox change color as I get higher up in altitude. Bum, 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 bum. I have another ticket here about batch rendering the skybox stars that I probably want to do sometime soon as well, because right now I'm rendering all 20,000 stars, give or take, individually. Like literally 20,000 separate draw calls. It's really, really, really bad. And it results in like a 20 FPS difference. Like I could get it even more, because I think I tested it with 1,000 stars versus 20,000 stars, and that was a 20 FPS difference. But like even 1,000 stars, 1,000 draw calls is not ideal. So if I can change that to all be one draw call, that's way better. I think what I probably want to do is I just want to have, because each star has like a position and a color. I probably just want to pass all those points into like a shader or something, and then have the shader render the entire skybox. But yeah, look at that. So it's pretty subtle, but you can see the skybox kind of getting lighter as I get lower down. And then that's the lightest that it'll get. I don't know. Maybe I want max darkness altitude to be a little higher up. Maybe. This is effectively black here. Okay, let me see. Max darkness altitude. I almost feel like the max darkness altitude should be based off of the map bounds. Like if I'm about to go out of bounds on the map, I think that's a good signal that, like, I think I want to make the darkness based off of that. Like the top of the map should be the darkest. And then that way you know when you're getting close to being out of bounds. Okay, let me see. So right now the skybox doesn't take any of that into consideration though. Let me see, map renderer, CPP, skybox. Oh, the skybox does take into consideration the map bounds. So maybe I just do that. Yeah, max darkness altitude. Instead of max darkness altitude, we'll do, where do I store the map bounds? Okay, I do. So I'll do map bounds dot top. So how close am I to the top of the map with my camera? And based on that, it'll determine the darkness of the skybox. Yeah. Maybe I want to give a little bit of leeway. Maybe I want it to be the top, let's say minus 20 meters. So you have 20 meters of like pure darkness before you, let's say, I'll try that and then I'll give it an actual name after if I like it. This needs to be, whoa. Let me just honestly like cast the whole thing to a float if it's gonna be a pain. Like that. So it doesn't complain. I don't want to have to cast like a bunch of individual portions, you know? It's annoying. Like every individual variable. But yeah, I think that's a nice little like minor thing. That way I don't have to worry about like, okay, well, what if I have a map that's taller, you know, than 800 meters and now it seems darker. Even though that would probably be more consistent with how physics actually works, because like just because this map is taller doesn't mean that it has like, I don't know, as the atmosphere in theory would be thinner if there was an atmosphere, which there isn't on the moon. But like I'm thinking on Earth, like when you go higher up, the sky should be darker if you go high up enough. I mean, this seems logical to me. Okay, let's see. So, we are, jeez. I would expect that it'd be darker up here, because I'm like right now I'm being spawned literally at the top of the map. As a matter of fact, I'll go all the way over to the edge so we can see it easily. But like that was the top of the map. So that should have been almost pure black. Ah, Jesus, why can't I fly? Good thing I had my good old cheats enabled. Give myself infinite fuel too. Okay, so yeah, look, like this is the top of the map. Right there. There's nothing out here. This should be basically black. What's my, let me see. Maybe I'm not right about what I'm expecting. Skybox max darkness. Yeah, I mean that's basically black. It's let me see. Maybe I take a look at some RGBA. So RGB 4, 11, 20, 255. What color is that? No, don't. I just want to see. I want to see the color. All right, thanks. No, I don't want to go in AI mode. Like, I'm gonna go into like a style. This is dumb. Just so that I can see a color. Okay, I'll just pick this color. Let me switch this to RGB. 4, 11, 20. Okay, yeah, it's this like really dark looking color here. So it should be basically black at the max darkness level. Okay. What am I missing? Map bounce top. Well, okay. Yeah, and then it's clamping between 0 and 1. So like if my camera position is ever above the top of the map bounds, meaning like let's say my camera position is at 110 meters and the top of the map is 100 meters, or like let's say 140 meters and the top of the map is 100 meters, then it'll be 140 over 80 because top minus 20. 140 over 80 will obviously give me more than 1, but then I clamp it, so that should give me 1. And then I lerp between the min darkness and the max darkness divided by 255. Seems valid to me. I don't know. Current skybox color, target skybox color. Yeah, and I just have some time-based smoothing. I get the camera position. All right, I mean, let me log out my altitude lerp factor. I guess that'll help me see if I'm even reading this correctly, which it should be, but it's getting late. My brain decides to shut down once it starts getting late. Why are you taking so long to build? I just changed like a few lines. Or did I not? Did I not? I'm pretty sure I rebuilt after I made that change before. I hope I did. Okay, lerp factor is 0 right now. Well, I mean, that'll do it for sure. Yeah, look at that. Lerp factor is 0. I knew something was up. Why? Map bounds dot top. Like, what? It's lerping between 0 and 1. Alright. Let me see. What's the camera position? Camera position, we're gonna do just render, get the render pipeline, get the camera, get position, and then map top, map bounds, dot top, boom. All right, let's see. It's like the biggest bottle of water ever. Alright. So, okay, the camera position. Here, I'll just go ahead and kill this right away. Alright, so, oh. Bro. Oh, no. Okay. So the camera position is 760. And on the y-axis, and the map top is 760. Okay. What? All right, 760 divided by 760 is 1. Now in this case 740, so it's gonna be 1.02. Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't math. I can't math. I forget. Order of operations is a thing, obviously. That minus 20, it was like, it was becoming 1, and then I was subtracting 20. So I was going to like negative 19. And then I was clamping that to 0, of course. Stay in school, kids. Stay in school. Learn your math. Don't be like me. Embarrassing. Okay. Let's do that. Let's just double check it. Now it should be like basically pitch black when we spawn in. Oh, whoops. Sec fault. I have to take some time to finally fix that seg fault because it's been there for a little while. There we go. Okay, cool. That's how it should look. And now it should get lighter as we get lower. Yeah, I'm seeing it get lighter. And then if I look up, darker, lighter, darker, lighter. It's subtle. It's not like it's also time bound, so you're not gonna see it immediately. It takes a second, but man, these chunk borders are pissing me off so much. I hate seeing that. But okay, yeah, then it gets nice and light down here. Yeah. Alright. Actually, let me see. There's a lower portion of the map, too. Ah. I think this is basically as far down as I could go on this map. Yeah, and it gets lighter. I mean, it won't matter. This is going to be a cave anyway. So, but it's just a good place to test. Stroller go. Yeah. Indeed. Indeed. Alright. Cool. So, I fixed that. I really need to give some thought to how I'm going to fix that zoom thing. Because it was already bothering me with the terrain tiles when I would see them jumping around like that. But now, when I see it with the terrain mask, it's pissing me off even more. But okay, I think this is a good place for me to call it. Because anything else that I do now is going to be like a larger ticket anyway. So, but it's been fun. Thank you guys for all hanging out with me. As always, obligatory. Let me just go ahead and throw the Steam link into the chat, and then also there is Discord for anybody who's interested. Check it out. And yeah, oh, thanks, Corbin. Good night, man. You have a great night. Have a great trip. I'll talk to you next week, hopefully, and you're not going to be here next week, so the week after. Well, I'll talk to you whenever. I hope you have a good vacation, man. Thanks for hanging out. But yeah, I'll see you guys all next week, Thursday. Be there or be square.